course, my camera died off. I'm not cutting off my head. It's a Christmas miracle. All right, so my home practice is a little bit of a mess right now. Just be real. And I think we're all, guilty of that at some point in time. So it's just going to be a nice little gentle stretch this morning. Nothing crazy. So like I say, if you needed something a little bit more intense, maybe go to the archived classes and grab something there. And remember that you can like tag your favorites and stuff. So, you have an old reliable, if that's the one that you always default to, if you're not into what's going on today, or currently, I guess I should say. So just listen to your body, and you can always make a pose more intense, right? Or less. And don't forget, you can skip things. Every pose is not for every body, right? And there's like rules. There's like 3 rules in yoga, right? You have to breathe. If it hurts, don't do it. Pain is different than discomfort. Remember that. And take a child's pose anytime you feel like. Those are the rules. Otherwise, it's up to you. That's the beauty of practicing at home, right? You don't have to feel embarrassed or feel like you might distract people, right? You can just do what you need to do for yourself, and that's super, super important. So we're going to start seated, obviously, here. We want to align the heels as much as you can. Right? Make sure you feel upright on your pelvis. So if this doesn't work out, and your knees don't have to be on the floor, right? Just make sure your pelvis is upright, and you can always sit on a block or on a pillow or a bolster, whatever you got handy. So making yourself comfortable here. Imagine lifting the pelvic floor up. And then the lower belly goes in and up, kind of like an ice cream scoop. And if that didn't make you kind of sit up a little bit better already, right? Get nice and tall through your sides. And then release your shoulders, release your inner hips, close your eyes. Check in and see if you can take the bottom tips of your ears back until you feel your head come right over your shoulders. And the neck should kind of go, yeah. And just be here for a moment, recognizing your alignment or not, right? Sometimes once you get to your ears, you've forgotten about the lower belly. Just gonna check in. Take that awareness to your breath without doing a thing just yet. Make sure you're breathing all through your nose. Even when things get challenging, you want to be able to breathe through your nose. And see if as you inhale, you can draw that air a little deeper into your lungs. So if you feel like you're a chest breather, see if you can be a belly breather. And if that doesn't make sense, send me a message and I'll explain. Allow the air or the breath to deepen, lengthen, so it takes a little longer. And make sure it's nice and smooth. Sometimes if you go too far, it gets a little choppy, or there's a catch. So you can smooth it out. And that's another thing that can be challenging in more challenging positions. Sometimes you want to exhale really intensely. See if you can make it nice and smooth. Keeping everything we have here, go ahead and extend the arms out to the sides. And on the next inhale, stretch them up to the ceiling. And exhale, bring them back down. Just letting the arms reflect the breath. We'll do it again. And then one more time. Sitting nice and tall here. Take the right hand to the left knee and the left hand behind the back. Nice, easy little twist over to the left. And then release that back to center. Take it over to the right. As you twist, notice if you've lost anything in that nice long spine. So the lower belly or the pelvic floor is still lifted, the lower belly still in and up. You're tall through the sides, but relax through your shoulders. Head's in line with the spine. Just rotating around. We're going to come on back to the middle again. Make this one a little bit deeper. So the right hand back to the left knee-ish, left hand right behind your body. And even maybe press into that hand so it helps you sit up a little taller. Imagine rotating from your belly button and then turning your side ribs, rotating that shoulder around and maybe your head as well. Nice big breaths here. Releasing that back to the middle. And then switching to your second side, using the arms. Rotating around nice and easy. Keep the spine nice and tall. Shoulders and hips as relaxed as you can. And then release it back to the middle. So instead of having one heel in front of the other, take the soles of the feet together. And we're going to play with our toes a little bit here. So like you would interlace your fingers, you're going to interlace your fingers with your toes. So see if you can dig your fingers all the way in between your toes. And sometimes that takes a little minute, so give yourself a break. Pinky finger by pinky toe. I've seen some people try and put their bigger fingers in between those toes that are little, and it doesn't work so much. So do what you can here. And then the soles of the feet are still pretty much together. Sit up nice and tall. Relaxing through your hips. If this is enough, this is enough. If you'd like, maybe bend your elbows and think about bringing your belly button toward your heels. Keeping the spine tall, the front of the body open. Nice big breaths. And then gently bring yourself up out of it. Before you release your toes, see if you can keep your toes flexed like that. So there's space in between them. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And then extend the legs out long. So pretty much if you're flexing your toes, your feet are flexed, mostly, right? If they're not flexing, make sure you still feel upright on your seat. Sometimes when we move the legs, you're gonna readjust. And then keeping the hands back by the hips for just a quick second, think about that same tip from the hip. So as if you were bringing your belly button to your thighs. Shoulders stay back. You can take the hands back by your hips and add a little bit of length into the spine if you push, right? Push against the floor. And just allow the fold to develop wherever it is. Nice big breaths here. Let's take one more breath. And then gently hinge up. We're bringing it around onto all fours. So hands and knees here. Wrists roughly under shoulders, knees roughly under hips. Right? Making sure that the four corners of the hand is on the floor rather than just dumping all the weight into that outer wrist. Spread the fingers wide. And here we're just going to inhale, dropping the belly toward the floor. And then exhale, rounding the spine to the ceiling. Moving in and out between those two poses with your breath. Noticing where it feels a little tight. So you can kind of breathe into that and open it up a bit. One more flow. Finding the middle here. Making sure the spine feels in this neutral position. We want to keep the belly in to protect the lower back. We're going to extend the right leg straight back. Keeping the hips level. Press through that heel as if you were standing on it. And if and when you're ready, take the left arm and stretch it forward. Nice big breaths. We'll release that side and do the exact same thing on the second side. Left leg and right arm. Take your time with it. If the balance is a little tricky, move slow. If it's too easy, close your eyes. Releasing that side. You're going to go back to the first side. So right leg and left arm. Stretch away from the body. Really make it like work. Take the arm over to the left. Bring the leg around to the right. Press through the heels, stretch through the fingertips. Up off the floor. It might be as good as it gets. Release the hands to the floor. Take the toes over to the side. And come upon this left knee. If you need some cushion or if this is a no-go on the knee, don't worry about it, skip it. Take the left arm up and over. You want to keep the chest, imagine as if you were rotating toward the ceiling rather than down toward your leg. On an inhale, come on back up to the top. We're going to go all the way over to the left, bringing that hand to the floor, lifting the right leg. And you can extend the right arm, take the right arm over the ear, any sort of fancy thing you like here. If you were ready for it, you could always take a quad stretch. That right leg. Might take some momentum, but come on back to the top. Hands back to the floor. Front. Lift the right leg. Hold it. And then a little Jane Fonda throw back. Take your toes and almost touch the floor, but then lift it. Even if it's an extra inch, almost to the floor, and then lift. One more time. Lifting, take it back, and down. All right, so that same idea to the second side. We're going to take left leg and right arm. Keep the stretch away from the body. Arm to the right, leg to the left. Those nice smooth breaths like I was talking about earlier, right? It's a little more challenging here. Hands to the floor, toes over to the floor on the side. Come on up on the right knee. Reaching the right arm up and taking it over here. One more nice big breath. Inhaling on the way back up. Take it all the way to the right. Lift the left leg. And again here, what you add on is entirely up to you, making it more or less challenging. And then we're gonna come back up to the top. Release the hands to the floor in front. Lift the left leg. Same idea, almost touch the floor, and then lift it back up again. Almost to the floor, and back up. Once more. Take it back. Down into that hands and knees position again, and then go ahead and drop back into a child's pose. Remember, especially with the first child's pose, if you like, you can maybe stack your fists and rest your forehead on that. You can use a block. Take your hands back by your heels. Knees can be wider or more narrow. We've got one more here on the hands and knees. So come on back up. And instead of working with opposite sides of the body, we're gonna see about working with the same side. So extend that right leg back again. But instead of taking the left hand up off the floor, bend your right knee. See if you can lean enough to lift your right hand up off the floor. And maybe that's up and down a million times before you catch your balance, right? If you can, take your right hand and find your right foot. And probably if this right hip is lifted a little bit, see if you can drop it back down more level to the left. You can kick the hand kick the foot into the hand, lifting your toes. Again, more or less challenging. Gently release, stretch out long for a quick second, and then bring it back down. So the same idea on the second side, see how it goes. Taking the left leg back, bending at the knee, and lifting the left hand. Find the foot maybe. Squaring the hips. Easy breaths. Release it, stretching out. Bring it down. And then one more time into a child's pose. If they weren't before, go ahead and stretch your arms forward, hands roughly that shoulder width apart. Spread your fingers nice and wide. And we're lift into down dog. So coming up off the knees, shifting the hips back. Allow yourself to wiggle around a little bit here. So maybe forward and back a little bit. Maybe you just kind of walk your heels, bending the knees and taking them more straight. Remember to try and not lock your joints. We want to rely on the muscles, not just the bones. And then allow yourself to gently settle into that, whatever it looks like. From our plain old down dog, we're going to lift the right leg. And for a moment, keep your hips level like we did when we were on hands and knees, and really press through that right heel and left heel. Then open the hip, take the leg a little higher. Eyes, it'll go bending at the knee. So the knee wants to point toward the ceiling, but the chest wants to point toward the floor, not to the right. Release that side. And we're going to switch it. So go ahead and lift the left
And again, for a moment, keep the hips square so you really extend through the heels, get a little extra there. Allow the left hip to open and bend at the knee. Watch the shoulders stay level while the hip really opens as much as it can. How's that breath? Releasing that side. Let's go ahead and shift forward into plank. And we're just gonna hold plain old plank. So if you need your knees on the floor, take your knees to the floor. Keep the belly in, the hips in line. Big breaths. Back to down dog. Go ahead and drop on down to the knees for a moment. Give yourself a child's pose here. All right. Back to down dog. We're gonna lift that right leg again. This time, keep your hips level. Right toes up off the floor. And shift forward into three-legged plank. Hold. And you can absolutely have your left knee on the floor if you need it. Back to three-legged dog. Release the right foot. Lift the left. Same thing here, sliding forward. Hips are square to the floor. In line with the shoulders and the ankle. Back to three-legged dog. And release. Dropping back to the knees. And taking your child's pose again. So the arms are stretched out long, and the hands are that shoulder width apart-ish. Fingers spread wide and middle finger pointing forward. We're going to come up onto the forearms and knees for a moment anyway. And then check in that there is a straight line between your forearm and your elbow, your forearm, your middle finger and your forearm, right? And those two lines are parallel to each other. The arms, right? So the tendency is to let your elbows get a little wide and your hands come in and maybe do the weird rotating thing that they do. But we want these like railroad track arms, essentially. From there, we're gonna step the feet back and come into a forearm plank. Belly's in, hips are in line. Lift the right foot up off the floor. Put it down. And lift the left. Again, the knee can be on the floor if it needs to for help. Yeah. Bring it down, drop the knees, and back to your child's pose again. Moving into down dog. Let's step the right foot forward. And let the hips kind of wiggle around a little bit. In a lunge, the back knee can always be on the mat. And we'd like to have the right knee stacked over the right ankle. From there, imagine pulling the legs toward each other. So you're gonna feel your hips square. They might lift a little bit too, so what? See if you can take your right leg straighter. Doesn't have to be completely straight. If you need a block, use a block. We want to try and keep the spine in this neutral position as much as possible. So prop up if you need. Bend back into the knee. Keep the hips square. Take the right hand to the hip and rotate the belly, side ribs, shoulder, and maybe your face.
rotating into the twist. Nice long spine, big, even breaths. Releasing that back to the middle. Take the hands, walk them around into the center of a straddle. And then just take a second, take your feet wider or more narrow if you need. Toes point forward. And feel as if you're on all four corners of both feet, right? So we don't want to rotate the ankles out or in. Finding that middle. And just hang in here for a moment, a couple breaths. Walk the hands around to the left. We lunge on our second side here. Same idea though, wiggling around into the hips a little bit. Again, dropping the right knee if you need it, stacking the left knee over the ankle, pulling the legs toward each other to square it all up, and then taking the left leg straight to earth. Let's bend back into the knee. Take the left hand to the hip and rotate around, adding the twist. Release the twist and walk the hands back around into the center. Again, adjusting your feet wider or more narrow. So let's bend the knees if you need. Index and middle fingers are gonna wrap around those big toes. Still staying nice and even on the four corners of the feet. Legs are straight if you can make them straight. Even if they're bent, bend your elbows out to the side a little bit. If you need more still, you can kind of pull against your toes to draw yourself deeper into this hold. Release the toes and then take the fingers to interlace behind the lower back. Shoulders pull toward each other, knuckles stretch away, maybe up your lower back, maybe not so much. Try not to lock your elbows or flip them over. Hyperextend, that is. Releasing the hands. Hands to the floor, even if again the knees need to be bent. From here, we're gonna walk the hands forward into kind of a wide-legged plank idea, only let your hips come low. And then walk it back into that straddle. Do it again, come forward. Let the hips come low. And then back again. We're gonna do that one more time, forward. And then back. Really sorry. So from your straddle, walk the hands back around to the right foot and come to stand at the top of the mat. In a forward fold, sorry. We're going up, but not quite yet. So feet are hip bone distance apart, toes point forward. Go ahead and bring your hands to your thighs and lift the upper body parallel to the floor-ish, parallel-ish. We want to keep the hips over the ankles
and the spine in this neutral position, right? So if you feel like you're rounding over, something went wrong. Lean if you need to lean. Otherwise, take the hands back by the hips. So the palms face to the floor, your forearms are kind of hugging your hips. And this is fun. If it's all good, take the arms out to the sides. Check in. Legs are straight without being locked. Hips are over ankles. Spine is in the neutral position, not rounded. If that's still fine, take the arms and stretch them out forward. Arms in line with the ears. So again, if your hips shift back or your knees bend or your spine rounds, take it back a notch. How's the breath? Wherever the arms are, go ahead and bend into the knees and make your way to chair. On an inhale, stretch to the ceiling. And an exhale, release the arms. All right. So take a nice big step back with the left foot. We're going to move into warrior two. So right toes pointing forward, left toes tucked in a little bit, bending into the right knee so that knee and ankle are stacked. Press down into the feet. Imagine pulling the legs toward each other. Go ahead and extend the arms. And just kind of check in that your hips are level to the floor, your shoulders are level to the floor, the arms are parallel to the floor. Nice easy breath. Taking the right leg straight. Reach forward of the toes, and when you can't hinge forward any further, take the right hand down and the left hand toward the ceiling. And you kind of want to feel like you're stacked. The hips are stacked, the shoulders are stacked, shoulders are in line with the ankles. Ish. From here, bring your left hand to your hip. Bend your right knee and bring the forearm to rest on the knee. So you can lean on the leg as much as you need or as little. Or just take the hand and sort of dangle it down the inside of your right calf, shin, whatever. From here, take that right hand forward of the right toes, and you're gonna have to adjust it a little more or less, right? Scoot back a little bit. Hop the left toes in until you can lift the left foot away from the floor. And ideally that leg is hip height, maybe not so much. The right leg is straight, maybe not so much. But then that same idea of being stacked. Left shoulder over right, left hip over left hip. Release it back down. Lifting the upper body up and coming into a straddle. All right, so same idea on the second side. Turn your right toes in a little bit, your left toes toward the back of your mat. We're gonna start with the knee bent, left knee bent that is. Stack your knee and ankle. Shoulders and hips parallel to the floor. Level to the floor. Left leg straight. Stretch forward over the toes. Left hand to the shin-ish. Right arm to the ceiling. So even here, lean if you need to lean. But if you don't really need to lean, just kind of let that left arm dangle. Don't worry about touching the floor. It might show up someday, but don't reach for it. And then bend back into the knee. Right hand to the hip. Sink into the hips here. Lean if you need to lean, or still let that left arm kind of hang out.
Taking the left hand forward of the toes. Again, adjust as you need. Hop the right toes in until you can lift that foot away from the floor. Feel that idea of stacking. Even if it's not quite, know where you are. Bend into the knee, bring the right foot back to the floor, upper body up and back into our straddle. So here, in your straddle, you might have to adjust your feet a little bit, but we want to turn our toes out to the corners a little bit and then bend the knees and check in that you can see your big toes. So toes in, toes out, feet wider, feet more narrow, whatever. Take the legs straight. We're gonna extend the arms so your body looks like an X. Bend into the knees and elbows. And then inhale back up. So exhale as you bend. Inhale as you lift. And we want to keep the upper body upright so you're not sticking your bum out or dropping your chest forward. Moments more like that. And hold in this kind of squat idea. Arms can stay bent, or the arms can extend out. The upper body can stay upright, or you can bring your shoulders in line with your knees-ish. Hinge back up. Release the arms, feet, and step back to the top of the mat. Warm now. Inhale, stretch the arms up. Exhaling, take yourself over into fold. Allow yourself to kind of hang out for a moment. If you like the knees bent, you want to grab opposite elbow. Let yourself kind of hang a little bit. And let's go ahead and step it back into down dog again. I have to see what time I'm at. From down dog, let's bring the left knee up behind the left wrist. And then stretch your right leg as long back behind you as you can. You can keep your toes tucked under, or you can have that foot flat to the floor. So listen to your body. If this is enough, this is enough. This can be kind of intense on the knee and the hip. So if you can, take the knee more to the outside of the wrist and maybe your left toes toward your right hand. So in theory, taking your left shin parallel to the top edge of your mat. That might not be reality. Or you can make it reality if you sort of slide over to the side, but that doesn't count. So come on back to center. And just listen to your body adjust. Imagine your legs toward each other here. That squares up your hips again. And you can stay up on your hands, you can drop down to your forearms, or you can take it all the way down forehead to the mat, or on a block or your socked fist or wherever you are. And then imagine sinking evenly toward the floor, right? So not just your head and your butt sticking up in the air, not just your hips, you're high up with your upper body. If you're going down, imagine going down evenly. One more big breath. And let's come back up on the hands. Slowly make your way back to a down dog. So the same idea on the second side. Bring your right knee up. Stretch your left leg long back there. Toes under or going flat, whatever. Knee more to the right. Toes more to the left.
Again, figure it out where it is, because it's not the same over here probably. Find your center, so square those hips up and drop down if you're dropping down. And sometimes the more you kind of pull your legs toward each other, you get really tight and it might keep you up out of it a bit. See if you can find the middle. So the hips are still nice and square and your legs are engaged, but you're also releasing toward the floor a bit. Find that? Part of yoga is self-study, and this is the most obvious, not this pose in particular, but it's the most obvious way to sort of watch yourself and learn. Take another nice big breath. And then we're going to make our way back up to down dog. Taking your time. Let's go ahead and drop down to the knees. Take another child's pose. Maybe open your knees wide and kind of sink down through it. Take the hands back by the heels. Any little adjustments that you haven't done before today anyway. We're going to kind of sit up on the heels. So if this is torture, don't do it. Right? You can also take a block between your feet and prop your butt up so it's less awful. But again, discomfort is one thing, pain is another. Pain is bad. And maybe you can open up your knees and feet evenly, so you don't want your knees real close and your feet real wide back there, right? And your butt will hit the floor. That might be you, not me. So we're just gonna stretch our shoulders, so if none of that is accessible, just come to your butt. You can do the same thing there. Take the right arm out and bring that hand kind of between your shoulder blades back there. And we want to try and keep this right elbow pointing as much toward the ceiling as you can. Take the left hand behind the back and imagine kind of walking up your spine and see if you can get your fingers to meet. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. If you can get your fingers to meet, see if you maybe clasp your fingers or grab your opposite wrist. Right? If you're super, super flexible on your shoulders. Sitting nice and tall. And upright. Sometimes we can scooch over to the side to get those fingers to reach. Stay aligned. Doesn't matter if your fingers touch. We're going to release that. Maybe roll your shoulders a little bit. And then let's switch. So taking the left hand between, elbow to the ceiling-ish, and then that right hand comes around, and maybe your fingers come together. Or they did on that side, not on this side, or vice versa. Maybe they went here and they did it on the other side. So, no. And gently release that. Around a little bit. And come around onto your bottom. Extend the legs out long. Wiggle around a little bit if you need. And again, just kind of check in that you're upright on your pelvis, legs extended, toes flexed, feet flexed. And you can leave your hands back by your hips for that kind of push idea to keep your shoulders back, or you can extend the arms toward the ceiling and then fold. Either way, we want to keep the shoulders back. It's just easier sometimes with the hands backward. We tend to round when we come forward. And you want to be well-rounded, but you don't want to be round. Right?
So keep the spine long. Hinging back up. Release your arms, you have them up. One more for those hips. We're going to take the left shin parallel to the top edge of your mat. At your mat or not, it doesn't, at the edge or not, it doesn't matter, just so that it's parallel. You're gonna flex that foot. You're gonna flex your right foot. That outer ankle bone, see if you can set it on top of your left knee. If you can't, in front of works. Keep the ankles, or the feet flexed, ankles flexed, whatever. If they can be stacked, great. If they can't, again, don't panic. Relax into this right knee as much as you can. We don't want to be looking at the sole of the right foot. If this is still not terrible, take your hands to your feet, push your hands into your feet and your feet back into your hands, and see if you can watch that right knee drop a little bit. Sometimes it will. So this might be intense enough. If you want a little more here, we hinge forward. On an inhale, hinge back up. Release your legs, shake them out a little bit. And then you're gonna switch sides. So bring the right shin parallel to the top. That foot is flexed, your left foot is flexed, the ankle bone either on the knee or in front of the knee. We don't want it to slide over is the idea. And you don't want it to hang off because then it's unsupported. So again, find the sweet spot. Again, listening to your body. Hands to feet, pressing in, and maybe hinging forward. With an inhale, coming back up again, releasing the legs, shake them up. And then take your feet flat to the floor. Make sure you got mat behind you here. Hands hanging down to the hamstrings. Go ahead and round yourself for a moment anyway, and roll on down to your back. Knees hug to the chest. And you can rock up and down the spine, or you can just rock side to side. And then, of course, your option for the final twist. Arms extend out into a T. The knees can stay close to the body, or you can take your feet flat to the floor and shift your hips and all that fancy stuff. You can cross your knees, whatever. Take the legs over to the right. And just adjust the twist until you feel like your body is in the right space. Taking just a couple more breaths over on this side. And then let's make our way back up to the middle. Whatever you did on the first side, start there on your second side. You can adjust if you need to adjust, of course. Just a couple more breaths around this side. And then back to center again. When you're back in the middle, draw the knees back into the chest. Let yourself rock a little bit. And then squeeze in forehead toward the knees. Stretch out, fingertips to toes. Releasing that stretch. Find Shavasana. So arms down by your sides, closer to, further from. You could open up the chest a little bit into cactus arms, legs straight, knees bent, soles of the feet together. Anything your body needs here to be super, super comfortable. And then release the muscles, letting the body get heavy into the mat. Allowing the awareness to stay solely with the breath here without controlling it. And allow yourself to rest here for just a few minutes. Slowly draw in a deep, cleansing breath. And then let that go. Begin to restore movement to the body. When you're ready, take the feet flat. Keeping your eyes closed so you're minding this really quiet place. Slowly make your way up to seated. Sitting well. We'll bring the palms to touch. Bowing to the light within. Namaste. So hopefully you got a lovely little yoga buzz. And remember that is always available to you anytime, right? So if this crazy world is enough already, come back, right? As often as you need. So have a wonderful weekend. I don't know if Jamie's still there, but hey girl. And hey Ty, have a great weekend and I will see you next week. All right. See ya. Thank you.